This is going to be a pretty fun talk because it's making me think. Yeah, can you imagine an article produced inside of science that makes me think? Because a lot of the stuff like dark matter and dark energy and all that, you can dismiss it and just laugh at it because it's dumb. But here's star water theory. Now, I like the idea that these people are like thinking about stuff like this because it means, hey, they're not taking establishment's bullcrap at face value anymore. They're really focusing in on how the universe actually works. And I'm proud of a lot of people who can take their time out of their day from work or family issues to tackle these problems, because career scientists, they just ignore it. They don't care about actually understanding the universe. They only care about the bottom line, which is very bad, if you will. Okay, anyways, enough of that. Star water theory versus stellar metamorphosis. Now, stellar metamorphosis is the theory I was working on for 3 years plus, and star water theory apparently has been around for 40 years, so they had a lot more time to do this, to think about this, so I'm going to try my best not to butcher it. But basically, star water theory is whether or not water is produced by solar wind, radiolysis. And basically, it has hydroxyl and hydrogen plus ions shooting through a solar system and hitting bodies producing water. Basically, that's what it amounts to. Now, how those particles are produced is from radiolysis, which is, here I have this, the dissociation of molecules by nuclear radiation. So, in other words, for star water theory to, catch some steam, you have to have previously formed molecules which then become dissociated via nuclear radiation. That's cool. I can totally see that. But there's a problem, though, that I've noticed that I need to point out. Star water theory keeps the sun as a nuclear reactor. Star water theory relies on the sun being powered via nuclear reactions, nuclear radiation. Now, radiation doesn't have to be nuclear. Radiation is light. Radiation is radio waves. Radiation is microwaves. Not all radiation is nuclear. If you really want to know, most radiation has nothing to do with nuclear material. That's a fact. And star water theory has water coming from ionizing radiation from the sun hitting bodies. So in other words, I guess the basics of it are they want to push the idea that somehow that the oceans were produced by the sun, or the water produced on bodies came from stars. Now, I don't know about you, but it's kind of counterintuitive, because if the ionizing radiation from the sun produces oceans, how exactly does an ocean form from being ionized away? That just seems kind of counterintuitive, if you ask me. If anything, I think star water theory goes towards the idea that it hits silicates, or bodies that contain some type of hydrogen and oxygen in them, and then the solar wind hits it and then forms water, and the water comes off from the solar wind. I think that's the point they're trying to drive home here. But as to whether solar wind produces oceans, I highly doubt that that's possible. And not only that, but if that were the case, the question could be raised, why exactly does Mercury, which is really, really close to the sun and has no atmosphere, basically, Venus and Mars, why don't they have oceans? Why don't they have oceans like Earth? Why is Earth the special child in this little adopted family we have here? Very deep oceans, mind you. Relatively speaking, compared to Mercury. Mercury doesn't have any oceans. So yeah, star water theory has the sun hitting an object, combining, you know, the hydroxyl or the hydrogen plus ions with pre-existing material that's in there, producing water. And I think that's how comets produce water. I think star water theory is correct in that analysis. Now, I don't want to go too deep into it because this video would be really, really long if I did. So basically, I think that's what star water theory goes over, and I think they're spot on with that. But there's only one problem: the volume with which the water is on the Earth. I don't think star water theory can touch that. But what can touch that is stellar metamorphosis. And in that theory, now anybody can work on it. I've basically given up on it. But I want to go over it with some people who are interested. It has stars such as the sun being electrochemical, not nuclear furnaces. The majority of the radiation coming from the sun is produced via heterolysis, meaning you have a molecule that was formed, and then electrolysis breaks that molecular bond and produces ions. That's it. It's just electrolysis happening on the sun. That's what produces the solar wind. So what that's evidence for is the fact that you have molecules on the sun. But according to establishment physics, the sun's too hot to form molecules. So in other words, the solar wind itself disproves the nuclear model of the sun that it's too hot. There shouldn't be any bond cleavage happening in molecules because there shouldn't be any molecules on the sun because it's too hot to form them. So they just shot themselves in the foot. Basically, the solar wind disproves their models. But anyways, you have here the essential nature of stellar metamorphosis means that every single molecule, every single naturally formed anything on the Earth is a result of the evolution of a single star. And to the volume with which water exists on the Earth is a direct result of the amounts of water that was already there in the star when it was born. So the sun, yeah, it's losing mass to solar wind, and a lot of the hydrogen and oxygen is escaping. But some of those hydrogen and oxygen combine, and their combination is called plasma recombination. You take ionized particles and you combine them together, and that releases heat and light. That's why the sun's hot. It's that simple. Plasma recombination, though, is frowned upon because it literally it throws pie in the face of these scientists. Plasma recombination, that's all it is. You have an ionized body, and depending on where the material is and how much ionized material there is, if it combines, it forms a new neutral molecule, which then releases heat to make up for that the bond energy that's released. In other words, to make new bonds, bonds, you release energy. It's called an exothermic reaction. That's why the sun is hot. But it's not nuclear at all, it's electrochemical. So you have all the hydrogen and oxygen on the sun. If it combines, and that water will be heavier obviously, it will fall towards the center. And the star will begin cooling, along with all the other ionized material. And we can see stages of star evolution even inside of our own solar system. You have the stars Jupiter, yes, I said stars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus. Those are stars which are combining elements into molecules and releasing radiation, exothermic reactions. They are essentially giant chemical laboratories which are synthesizing the new Earth in their centers. They're new Earths. And the sun is a very, very, very young Earth. It's maybe 65 million years old at the most. It's not 4.5 billion. It's not older than the Earth. The Earth is made of rocks, for goodness sake. It's a very old structure. The sun, really hot, really young, really bright. And sure, people look at the sun and they say, oh, well, how could something as big as the sun become something as small as the earth? Well, if you take into account the fact that the earth is already 3.5 billion years old, which is a number that nobody can really comprehend, a billion? Come on. Yeah, if it has enough solar wind coming out of it, and it loses all its mass, it will shrink and cool and solidify, leaving the heavier elements in the center. And that's what the planet is. And we can see this process all over the universe. All over. The stars that don't have spectrums, scientists call them planets. But basically, that's the main difference between star water and stellar metamorphosis. Star water has just a tiny little sliver of truth, but I don't think star water has the big picture. The big picture is the star itself is the new planet, and all that hydrogen and oxygen combine into water, and over time just stay put. The star keeps its oceans. Now, the oceans that were on Mars, yes, it had very deep oceans just like Earth. So did Mercury, so did Venus. They evaporated away because those stars are clearly older. And their magnetic field no longer protects them because they don't have magnetic fields to protect them. Which leaves in doubt our leaders' capacity to say, oh, well, we're going to go to Mars, you know. No, don't go to Mars, you idiots. It has no protective magnetic field. People are going to die up there. It's going to be slow, painful death via radiation. Don't send people to Mars unless you can provide them protection from the radiation. That's a no-brainer. But anyways, I think I made this video long enough. And hopefully I didn't butcher star water theory, because, you know, this is very new to me. And yeah, well, I guess that basically sums it up. Today is February 20th, 2015. All right. Have a good day.